There have certainly been times when walking into a pet store, let alone a healthy pet store, has been overwhelming. Whether I just didn't know what to get because my cat or dog was sick, or I knew I wanted something better for food, but the labels were confusing. That's why I'm so glad that there are more and more healthy pet store owners and pet advocates out there to help. Krysta Fox and Jeff Duree own Pug and Hound Apothecary in Illinois, and along with their instafamous pug, Bruce, they're helping pet parents and their pets find healthier alternatives to food and medicine. As you'll hear in today's episode, Krysta and Jeff have an extraordinary background in the pet industry and each have a passion for helping people and their pets. Oh, and don't let the fact that they're in Illinois fool you. No, they also offer online consultations. So stay tuned because I have a feeling you'll fall in love with this super duo as much as I have. And P.S., I bet you can't guess what their favorite foods are. Make sure to stick around till the end to find out. Have you tried training methods that just didn't work? Do you feel that your pet is not getting his or her nutritional needs met? Are illnesses and bad behavior your daily norm? You're going to want to join me on the Pet Parenting Reset, where you'll hear interesting and informative interviews and get solutions to all your pet problems. I'm your host, Jessica L. Fisher. So Krysta and Jeff, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so interested in your story and Bruce's story and how Pug and Hound came about and what you do to help people. Can you kind of tell everybody a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are today?
Well, started out with Bruce, of course. Bruce, my little black pug. Had a fairly normal, healthy life, and then around 5 years old, started to have some back issues, had his first spinal surgery, and shortly thereafter, I was already working at a natural pet health food store, but I got really passionate about it and really wanted to see the other side of things. So I decided to become a veterinary technician. Started out at a very conventional practice, learned a lot, good and bad. But it helped me learn a lot about Bruce and have the tools to start learning more about what he was going through and more about the body and stuff like that. And then, I started working for a chiropractic neurologist for animal, his wife, who's a vet and an animal chiropractor. So I started to get a lot of experience. And then I met Jeff. And Jeff and I decided to take our shared passion for, feeding animals fresh and natural alternatives and turn it into a brick and mortar store. So that is pretty much our story, but it's all because of Bruce and everything I've learned about Bruce. And then he's just basically been the catalyst for our business growing the way it has so that we can help so many other pet parents know that there are other alternatives out there in terms of just, food, medicine, herbal remedies, just giving people the power to make a little bit more of an informed decision when their pet has an impending health issue. So that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah. Sounds about right.
That's so important. Sounds about right. Well, what got you interested in natural health for animals, Jeff?
I was working at a self-dog wash and just kind of saw all these dogs coming in with medicated baths and got some books from the library. I actually read Pucka's Promise by Ted Carasotti, and I thought it was about like how you feed dogs. But I, checked it out from the library, and it kind of was about that, but about so much more and how dogs should, it was about it just opened my eyes into the world of animals and how they should be treated and how we do treat them. And I watched, customer came in, told me to watch Pet Fooled. So I watched that. the next day I just messaged the page, and I got a message back and didn't realize I was actually talking to the director, Cole Harrington. And from there, I just kind of realized that pets don't have a choice. You know, it's up to us to make those decisions. And when you're being told to just feed cereal, you know, and it just doesn't seem right. And I was sitting there one day and just thought, you know, what animal cooks their food? And that's my question I ask everybody to just get them thinking. And nobody, you know, everyone just laughs like you did. And, well, none of them do. It's like, well, then why do we just feed this ultra-processed cereal to our animals all the time and wonder why they're itching or scratching or getting sick? You know, so I just got more and more into it. And unfortunately, I bought the wash and then closed it, and then was working in another pet store and met Krysta. And, you know, with her working in the veterinary industry, you know, it brought a different aspect that I thought we could bring, you know, people, and having the store on more of the logical, you know, common sense approach. And then if people want to get really technical, you know, Krysta can, you know, step in and, you know, really get to the nuts and bolts of things. But you know, a lot of it just starts with the diet. That's the one thing they're getting, you know, 2-3 times a day, depending on how often you feed. And then all the other treats that, you know,
People don't think about it. Like, there will be people that, you know, feed fresh food, but are still giving like really bad treats, or, you know, giving them popcorn and bread and things that they
I
shouldn't.
saw a list yesterday of safe foods for dog to eat by someone they posted on Facebook, and popcorn and bread were on the yes side, and garlic and avocado were on the no side. And I'm like,
No.
who made this list? Like, why would you give your dog bread? There's no, okay. I mean, that's just.
But that's all what we're all about, is helping people understand what's myth and what's fact.
Yeah.
Because those lists will go around Facebook and people just take them at face value. And it's like, no, do you actually understand that the avocado thing was
Well, and that's
based-
what it said. There was another list where if you actually like clicked on the link, it's like, well, they can eat the inside of the avocado, but not the pit. Like, who's going to feed their dog a pit of avocado and think it's good for them? Or there was one where it was like raspberries. Don't feed them a lot. Like, I'm not giving my dog a bushel basket full of raspberries. If they give a couple of them, that's great. Like, you know, the disconnect with some of these things, and people that come into the store and like, well, I saw it on this, or it was, you know, on Facebook group, you know, they need those dry things to clean their teeth, you know, the crunchies.
Yeah.
And I just say, well, 90% of dogs at least and cats eat kibble, and 90% of dogs and cats have dental disease. So I'm not sure how it's working.
Yeah.
So that's my, you know, the common sense.
Sure. I have so many questions.
So.
Yeah. Well, but it's so important, especially to meet people where they are. So
Yeah.
I absolutely love like how you two come together, because Krysta, you have more technical knowledge, more, you know, from being a vet tech and working as a medical professional with animals. So having the two of you together is like, you're like a superhero team, right?
We do our best.
But I want to hear, so Bruce is, yeah. Bruce is kind of famous in his own right. Can you tell me a little bit about what his story is, what he's been through, and how you help him?
So Bruce, like I said, started out like perfectly healthy. Like, I couldn't even make, I had insurance for him, thank God. Couldn't even make his insurance deductibles year after year, and I almost canceled his insurance. And then Bruce, which is an important lesson, my life took a pretty bad turn in 2015, and unfortunately I learned much later that Bruce took on a lot of the stress and the trauma that I was experiencing, and unfortunately it took its toll on his back, and he had to have a spinal surgery. And after that, you know, I did rehab with him. I was, you know, trying to do the best I could to maintain his health and wellness, and he did all right for a couple years. And then he developed a secondary condition called neurogenic bladder. And that condition is where he lost control of being able to pee. So he actually retains urine. He's not incontinent in the sense that he leaks. He actually retains it. And that was due to a spinal cyst that developed in the same spot as his first injury and first surgery. So I had to go to UW-Madison to see a spinal cyst specialist, and they broke up the cyst surgically, but it did not give him the ability to urinate again. So I have to catheterize Bruce twice daily. I've been doing that for 5 years now. Completely painless for him, but his condition, because the spinal cord feeds everything in the body. So when the spinal cord starts to degenerate, you have to manage that proactively. And so I do that the best I can by first and foremost maintaining his gut health, making sure he's always got as healthy a microbiome as possible. He gets chiropractic adjustments on a weekly basis from Dr. Carl DeStefano, who is arguably one of the best animal chiropractors in the world. So I'm very blessed. Gets acupuncture every week. He goes to physical therapy, gets massage, cold laser, goes on the water treadmill, also gets massages independently every week. So I do everything I can to make sure that I can at least keep him balanced. I'm not, unrealistic thinking like my dog's going to walk again. That would be great. But I do everything I can to keep his body from further degeneration or feeling any, ill effects of his spinal cord condition, and just keeping his quality of life as high as possible. And we deal with that a lot at the store, between back issues, between Frenchies, pugs, dachshunds, corgis. All these dogs have so many back issues, but the secondary issues that come along with these back issues, I'm very grateful that I work with who I do, because I've learned so much that I can help other people understand how their dog's back condition is going to affect the rest of their health, and how to be proactive and maintain it with, especially diet. Fresh food is super important for any dogs with an inflammatory condition, but so we really hone in on that, and then help them pick the right supplementation, the right treats, so that their dog can maintain their health and longevity as long as possible. So.
He always thinks I have treats in my hand, so that's why he's always trying to stare at me. I did that in the morning. I'll pretend like I don't have treats, and then he'll, he looks, and then then I'll put a treat in my hand after like 4 times of doing it. So now he just thinks there's magically going to be treats every time.
But as you can see, he's quite happy and sassy. Like, he amazes people when people ask how old he is, or, what's going on with him. They're like, I can't even believe he's going to be 12 in a week. And it's incredible. He was only given a year to live when he was diagnosed with this bladder condition. And I was like, no, I'm going to do everything I can. And he's absolutely thriving despite all that he deals with. He's a happy little guy.
That's so awesome, and really such an inspirational story, because I feel like, and I hate to say this out loud, but I mean, people need to hear it. So many people in your situation may have euthanized their dog because it's so much to take on, and you don't know that your dog is going to have a quality of life, especially if you don't feel like you can manage everything he needs.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tear up. I'm going to stop right there because I'm tearing up. But, it's a hard decision. And
how have you managed to do all of this? And it's like, well, if I can, I will. I will extend any resource, any knowledge that I need to get. And
I think he had the right mom too. Things happen, it's odd how things happen that,
they were like, well, you're either going to catheterize him or express his bladder. I'm like,
then
I know how to
look
catheterize.
what it's led to is what I meant. It led to, now we have a store and there's more people. It's odd how certain things happen, and it's like you said, no one. If you can't take on that, it's not that you're any less of a pet parent.
I think it's just
that's
a
the
lack
hard
of
thing
knowledge.
with people, and the knowledge, but the catheter. When you have to go that extra mile like she does, that's asking a lot, of people. And if you can't provide that quality of life, then that's why, that's the best thing we do for our pets is if there's no quality of life and we know it, we can
give them that mercy.
Yeah. Instead of just holding on for ourselves at times, and that's the hardest part that we deal with at the store is when is, we want to do all these things for, the pets that come in and the people that come in, especially because they're part of the family. And it's, that's the hard part that we struggle with. And Krysta had a great thing of making a list of your dog's 10 favorite things. And when you can't, do more than 2 of them, then you really got to look at making that decision of, what's best for our animals. And, it's hard, but, we're here to provide people with, all the resources we can, all the information that we've garnered over the years and learned from people to give their pet that best quality of life possible.
And I mean, it's from start to finish. We're talking about the finish, but just like examples of the start, we had a regular customer who was like, oh, I'm getting my dog neutered tomorrow. And Jeff talked to him, about the pros and cons of neutering, and the dog didn't really have any behavioral issues or any particular reason for getting neutered. So
I actually sent him to caninesports.com.
It's Dr. Chris Zink.
Dr. Zink has some great articles on the gonadectomy and things like that. And I'm like, here, go to this site, take a look at the information they have here, and then make your decision. And I'm like, and now they're starting to do vasectomies for dogs, which sounds crazy, but it's keeping, that hormones going through them that they need to help develop. So, he looked into it and he called me back like 45 minutes later. And he's like, I just wanted to tell you, he had the appointment scheduled for yesterday. I think it would have been. He's like, after looking at that, he's like, I canceled the appointment. He's like, I'm going to do some more research. He's like, there was no reason that he was getting it done. There was no health issue for the dog or anything like that. So he's like, I told him, like, I appreciate the call that, that's why we're here, is trying to give people the information and then they can do with it what they want. But as long as they have some trusted information, it's easier to make a decision rather than, Dr. Google or whoever's out there, because you're going to get pages and pages no matter what you say. If you ask the question a certain way, you're going to get those responses. So everyone's very convincing because everybody has a website. Everybody, can put letters next to their name or get someone to say, well, this happened in 1 dog out of 1,000,000. And that's where, you got to kind of weigh the options.
I mean, that's what we try to remind people, when they're like, oh, I need to do some more research. That's what we do. That's all we do. We try to sift through it all to make it so that people can find the trusted, good information rather than spending countless hours not looking for the right things, not knowing who's who. Like essential oils are a great example. I had a cat customer that came in the other day and she said, oh, I heard they're really toxic to cats. And I said, actually, you should really check out Dr. Melissa Shelton, see what she has to say about this. I briefly explained to her, cats metabolize essential oils different ways, the difference between like really hot oils and oils that are more tolerable, more safe. And her mind was completely blown. She's like, oh, anytime I've looked it up on the internet, it says they're bad. And I was like, well, you can also Google, is the earth flat? And you will find people that will give you solid evidence that the earth is flat. So like you said, you can Google whatever you want and it'll support whatever hypothesis you're trying to figure out. So it's our job to get through all of that information, know who's a real expert in the field, who really understands this, and sift that out for our customers so that they can make a better informed decision, even if they do go and research things on their own.
Yeah, all of that is so important. And I have I don't know if you got a chance to meet Janet, who owns Pupology here where I live.
Briefly, I think
but she's just like you guys, trying to help, every dog in our little town, one person at a time, kind of like you guys are. And it is tough, especially when you have people that are just so, I know what I read online, and so many of the things you've brought up are the comments that I get every day on YouTube. Like I was up this morning answering YouTube comments, and there was another person commenting that you can't have essential oils around cats, or you can't have citrus around cats. And I'm like, come on, people. Why am I answering these same things over and over and over again? But to kind of go back, you were mentioning gut health earlier, and I was hoping to, I don't know, maybe you have an example, because I see this all the time, like literally every single day on social media, and I'm sure y'all do too. everybody's like, what probiotic can I give to my dog? What probiotic is best? I need to give my dog a probiotic. And of course, like, they have no context when they're asking these questions. So I always am like, okay, well, first of all, what's going on with your dog? What are you feeding your dog? Why do you feel like you need a probiotic? Just to try to pry more information out of them. And I personally also think that just throwing probiotics at a situation is not going to, it's not like a magic bullet that's going to fix everything in your dog, especially if you're still feeding highly processed food. Do you have any examples?
No, go ahead, finish, and then we'll answer.
I'm sorry?
There's a delay.
Oh, no, do you have any examples of maybe customers you've helped who they're coming in just looking for a probiotic and you've really helped them see past, like, there's so much more that we need to do than just throw a probiotic at your dog?
Well, I think it's the current market and where things are going. Obviously, the health industry and even the pet health industry is understanding that the microbiome is very important. And so probiotics are becoming this marketing term. The probiotics are in everything because we do understand that the microbiome is the center of the immune system, inflammatory response, all of that. But like you said, it's just not that simple. You really do have to ask further questions. I mean, we love Adored Beast probiotics, but there's 4 different ones and they can be used for different reasons. Not every dog needs, phytophthora or healthy gut. So trying to sift through that and help them make that decision while addressing all those other health concerns and going, is this really the issue?
But it's also not always just a powdered probiotic. You can get it from a lot of other places. So, again, that goes back to diet. If you're just looking for a powder to fix it, and that's what we tell people. Like, if it was easy, I'd have a shelf stocked with one thing that's going to fix everything. And if you're just going to the doctor to look for something that works once, like we all know it's going to work the one time, and then it's eventually not going to work. You're going to have to do something stronger. It amazes me when people come, from the vet and their dog had, loose stool or diarrhea, and they're like, well, give them a bland diet of just chicken and rice. It's like, well, when they're sick, the chicken's fine for them when you're cooking it, but any other time, stay away. You can't feed them any, better food, and that's what we try and stress is you can take, medicine when it's needed is great. It gets rid of certain things, but, another example of learning through Bruce was having to support his body after, you get rid of whatever bacteria, might be bad or good. But a lot of times, with people, it's not just if they're looking for one probiotic, it's like, well, are you doing a digestive enzyme as well? It can't just, throwing a probiotic at one thing isn't just going to fix it, like you said. And then, we've learned, over time too, and it makes sense, just rotating between good ones you find, because there's different, strands you're going to inoculate with better, probiotics, or different probiotics, I should say, with each one that you rotate between. So you're giving your gut the best chance of, being as strong as possible, your immune system. And that's all you can do is lessen, toxins in the world and give your body the best chance to fight it off, because at the end of the day, that's all we have. Medicine will get you so far, but then it's up to your body to take it the rest of the way, or, that's just, it's not going to work if you can't support yourself eventually. You can,
And with the probiotics, like you said, rotating is key, but you have to achieve balance in the gut. There should be a balance of good and bad bacteria. Bad bacteria obviously should be in small, manageable amounts. But if you over inoculate with probiotics, even though that, sounds like a good thing, it's actually not. It'll cause just as much of a problem as a bad imbalance can. You'll see like massive amount of bloating, gas. I mean, I did it with Bruce. I accidentally over inoculated my dog, and thank God Julianne Lee was like, "You're fermenting him. He's fermenting himself in his gut." So you definitely can overdo it. So it's important, especially with probiotics. People think, "Oh, my dog has allergies, I'm just going to do probiotics." Well, if your dog has like a severe food intolerance, you need to address like the gut lining, not just what's in the gut, but the actual structure of the gut itself, and doing things like humic and fulvic and butyric acid, things that, will actively help repair the gut in addition to probiotics, whole food probiotics, things like raw goat's milk, raw kefir, stuff like that, where, you can give this whole diversity while trying to balance your animal and repair them.
Good soil veggies. You get probiotics, and that's where I had a customer come in too, and she's like, well, I don't want to feed this because, it has too much veggies in it. The dogs don't need that. And I'm like, well, what are you feeding? She's like, well, 80, 10, 10. And I'm like, that's all you're giving your dog? Like, that's, Dr. Becker was a big fan of it. She's since, seen the ramifications of only doing that and since changed, up her opinion about it a little bit. And when something's beneficial, why not, give it to your dog or take it yourself? It doesn't mean that's all you're going to, incorporate into the diet. Wild animals, our dogs eat grass. So to say that they don't eat any kind of vegetables or they wouldn't pick out vegetables is just,
we know that
it's ignorant. You just don't want to, admit to it. So adding beneficial layers to, our diet, to our dog's diet, and it shouldn't even be diet because there's not one person or one, that eats the same diet their whole entire life. You're always adjusting. You're always finding different things that work for you at different stages of your life. And that's, how it should be. And the other thing that's going around now that's popular is, it's just food. Food is food. There's no dog food. There's no human food. It's just food. And that's so true. And when people switch to, more fresh food, they want to get down to the, the half ounce of food that they're feeding and like, oh, well, how many ounces? It says he can get 6, but I'm not sure if I should, and they give them more. And I'm like, you're not going to harm your dog with fresh food. You're not going to harm yourself. As long as it's quality and, sourced well and fresh, it's not going to be a problem. Just try and, work through that idea that it all has to come from a bag and that it all goes in a bowl. And that's the only way the dog can eat. And you wonder why they're anxious around the house or, chewing things up. Like they sit at the house, you let them outside, some people, and then feed them in a bowl. And that's like their routine forever. And all they're eating is, dead food. As as well said, it's feed and it's, add in fresh food. I had another lady, well, we put all this chicken on top and that's all he eats. And then the kibble's there. And if he's hungry, he'll go back later and eat it. And I'm like, well, he's telling you something right there.
Yeah. I remind people, if a food made you sick, let's just say you're allergic or gives you a headache, you'd innately avoid that. Like, let's just say broccoli makes my stomach hurt. So when I look at broccoli, not so sure. Dogs can't communicate that. If they are not ravenously eating and they're going towards their food and thinking about it, more likely they're like, this kind of gave me a tummy ache last time. This makes my head hurt. Because headaches are actually super common in dogs, but obviously they can't tell us they have a headache. But things like that where when I tell people that, they're like, oh, that does make sense. Like dogs should love to eat. That's how they're hardwired, to never know when the next meal is coming and be dying to get it. And it's amazing how many people are just like, oh yeah, they just eat when they want. I'm like, does that really make sense to you that, an animal would just go up to the bowl and be like, yeah, I'll take 2 little kibbles and walk away because they're starving. They're doing it out of desperation. They're not doing it because they love their food. So it's, little things like just changing how people think about their routines and what they think might be normal that's actually not. That's all about just education and advocacy. I think that's what makes it so gratifying is we can help people with these little tidbits of education. Slowly but surely they start to make changes and then they see huge differences in their pet's behavior, their well-being, their overall quality of life improves so much just from these simple, gentle ways of helping people learn better and do better.
I'm so glad that you brought up so many different behavioral issues because normally I'm the one bringing it up because I kind of started on this journey as a dog trainer and very, very quickly, I had already started feeding my own pets fresh food, but I really very quickly started learning that the best way I can help people who are having issues with their dogs, they're calling me for training, is by changing their diet because so much of what's going on can be attributed to diet. In almost every home I've ever been in where people are, whether it's like, they're just, they have too much energy or, and inevitably I'd say 90% of homes I walk into, they're calling me for, I just want basic training, whatever it may be for a dog. And then they always somehow, well, yeah, he's kind of picky. He doesn't really like to eat, and we're having a hard time, and we keep trying different brands, and he just doesn't want to eat. Okay, let's dig into this, because your dog, like you said, should want to eat. And every dog is different, which is, I think, one of the obstacles and why we wind up talking individually to people before they really have their aha moments, is because every dog is an individual. And like my dog, she is just, she is the most princess dog you would ever meet, and won't even I've been trying for years to get her to munch on a bone, and she won't. She's just very I'm delicate. But you put a plate of food in front of her. I did a huge board for her birthday last year, and I individual items, and she went through all of the raw meat first, then the cooked meat. She licked at a couple of different fruits, didn't touch the vegetables, then ate the scrambled egg. She's just she pushes away fruits and I have to give her, if I do it myself, I have to blend it. She's very give me meat. Or if we try to give her a treat of a fruit or something, she looks at us like she's offended. She's like, where's the meat?
Working with people individually is really important, because, I talk to people about their dog's microbiome, because, when people transition from kibble to fresh, there's usually some sort of GI stress that they'll go through. And I remind people that's because people don't think about the bacteria actually being what's helping break down the food. They think it's more of a mechanical process versus a chemical process. So reminding people that, okay, now your dog has been eating 60% carbohydrate, let's just say on average, when they're eating processed food. Their microbiome has adjusted to processing majority carbohydrates. So when you go from a majority carb to a majority protein and fat, those microbiome are going to have to shift, and that takes a while. And again, people want an overnight fix. It's very hard to do. Depending on the age and health condition of the dog, it can vary. It can happen really quickly, or it can take months to get a complete, switch over of the gut microbiome to process fresh food. And I wish people had more patience with that, because it can be kind of daunting when people start to switch to a fresh food and go, oh, well, they had diarrhea, so I'm just going to stick with what I'm doing. And it's just give it some time. The detox and the transition process takes a little bit, just like us. You can't expect to go from, my sister did it. She did a pretty strict vegan diet and then ate a hamburger with us, and she had some issues. It's dogs are going to have the same issues going from one very particular formulation of diet to a completely different formulation of a diet. So it's important working with people and reminding them of that process. So so they don't feel so uncomfortable and disconnected. And I think that's at the core of what we do, is not just telling people what's good for their dog, but why it's good for their dog and what their dog is going to go through due to these changes, so that people do feel comfortable with that process versus just going, well, I bought fresh food. I don't really know why I got it. I don't really know what to expect. It's important to prepare people, and you have to do that by having those individual conversations.
I do have a quick question for you, if you don't mind me asking. It's been years now, a couple of years. When I switched my dog, we didn't have faith in a company at one point, and I switched her. We rotate brands now, but when I did that, she was going from a fermented food to a non-fermented food, and she had a lot of GI upset for a few days, and I was very concerned, and it dawned on me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's when we started adding goat's milk. She gets goat's milk for breakfast, and then she gets her raw food for dinner. And within a day, she was totally good. And I think, I don't know, I'm just in awe of the amazingness of goat's milk. Is that something that you find with a lot of other dogs, that it can really quickly clear up, especially in a dog who's otherwise healthy, quickly clear up a lot of, GI issues, upset.
Absolutely. And that's our go-to. Even, if I have a client who it's not in their budget to feed entirely fresh, we always err on side of goat's milk. So oftentimes getting them to add the goat's milk to the dry food that they're feeding, that's when the light bulb starts to go off that their dog really just does want to eat fresh food, because then they won't eat the dry food without the goat's milk. So it becomes not only a wonderful way to boost the bowl for people who can't afford to do entirely fresh, but for the people that might just be hesitant and they start with goat's milk, it's usually the stepping stone for them to see the benefits of feeding a fresh food. And just it's crazy how beneficial just plain old raw goat's milk can be for these dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, it has everything in it. I don't think people realize that when we have like kind of strange belief systems when it comes to milk. So explaining, the benefits of raw milk and, the difference between raw milk and what, cow milk that people buy at the grocery store, and how beneficial that raw milk is just in terms of everything that's in it, that it has everything, every vitamin, mineral, amino acid, digestive enzyme, probiotic. It's got everything in it. So I think it's a great all-in-one add-on for just about any dog out there. It just does so much with just such a tiny little adjustment.
Yeah, I'm just so I love your story. I love what you've done with Bruce, and I know that at Pug and Hound you also offer consultations for people that may not be local to you, which is most people. Can you tell me a little bit about that process and what people can expect if they go to your website and decide they want a consult with you?
So I started doing the consults probably about a year ago, just because our store got so busy that I didn't have the one-on-one time that I used to have with people when they'd walk in the store, and I really wanted to give them my undivided attention. So I do local and distant consultations for people whose animals are dealing with acute or chronic health concerns that they're just not seeing what they need to from their veterinarian, which is usually from a conventional, traditional medicine perspective. There's just limited tools. So that's where I come in to help them not only understand what's going on with what they're currently doing with their veterinarian, help foster a good vet-client relationship so that they can make certain adjustments comfortably, again, with that education. But people get my one-on-one undivided attention in terms of going over lab results, your dog's medical history, where we can see some connections being made. All of that. It's just a way for me to be able to give them a concrete plan instead of, when people come in the store, I can give them tips and tricks, but it's much more organized to do a consultation where I can go, okay, this is what we're dealing with. I have a nice questionnaire where I can get some things out of the way instead of having to take up a lot of time talking initially, like I do with people in the store, like, oh, are you spraying your lawn? How many times do you feed? Are they neutered? Who's your vet? What medications are they on? All of these things can be done with an initial consult, and then I can really get in depth with people in terms of a plan, have follow-up. People, can reach out to me directly from their consult and then feel really comfortable with what they're doing and have a good plan that they can go back to their vet. Or if they don't want to use their vet in the process, that's another thing too. But at least I can step in and go, okay, so your dog is dealing with Cushing's disease. Your vet probably hasn't talked to you about CBD. Let's talk about CBD, food, how those things are going to benefit your dog with Cushing's, so that they not only can implement those tools with confidence, but when it comes time to have that conversation with a conventional veterinarian, they can have confidence in knowing that what they're doing actually has legitimate reasons by it, not just like, oh, some person told me to switch to fresh food and do CBD. So it's just a way for me to get really in depth and detailed and just have that one-on-one time with people to use my knowledge base to do with what they need.
I'm so glad you brought up CBD. If I remember correctly, Jeff said that you might be a writer for CBD dog health?
I do write blogs for CBD dog health.
That's so awesome. I actually just interviewed Angela yesterday, and so her episode's going to go up right before yours. So if you're listening to this and you haven't listened to Angela's episode, make sure to go back after this one's done. So that was awesome because I feel like there's so much I don't know, but CBD is one of the things that it's like, I know and I don't know. Like I know that I don't know.
I love reading the blogs because I learned so much just having to do a ton of research on my own. I mean, I'll know a brief amount about a certain topic, and then I get to really dive into the research and help inform people and make it easy to understand. But I mean, the reason that we sell CBD dog health again was because of Bruce. Bruce had a secondary neurological issue that I could not get under control with conventional drugs. I tried 3 other brands of CBD, and Angela reached out to me personally and said, I'm going to send you a bottle. Just try it with Bruce. Just please give it one more shot with CBD. And within 2 doses, his condition was resolved. And I was like, okay, there's definitely something different about
That's amazing.
This. And just Angela as a person. Yeah, just a wonderful lady to work with. And I'm very honored to, for them to have me on board. We love selling their products, and the results speak for themselves. So CBD is a wonderful tool. It's just right now we have an uphill battle with veterinarians feeling like they can't talk about it or they're going to lose their license. And it's not necessarily the case. A couple states maybe, but not around here. So helping inform people about things like that, where it's something that's definitely on a lot of people's radar, but they don't quite understand it, or they've picked a brand that's not so great and didn't see the results they wanted. We're dosing it wrong. So we help come in and give people the good information and the right way to do things so that they do see results from it, because it can be an absolutely life-changing addition to a dog's health protocol.
That's so true. I know just personally, my mom was really skeptical about it when I recommended it to her for her dog who has anxiety around thunderstorms. Because all she knows about it is that she can't take it herself because of where she works, because they're a government contractor. And I'm like, well, first of all, they're not testing your dog. But that put negative thoughts in her mind about it, if that makes sense. So she's like, well, I just can't touch this at all for any reason. So there are certainly obstacles around CBD, but I do think it's like I was talking to Angela about, it's something that is provided to us in nature, and like it's there for a reason. Everything in nature is there for a reason, and if we can figure out how it can help us, I mean, how wonderful is that? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think if cannabis came back into our agricultural system like it was 100 years ago, we'd have a whole lot of better outcomes in terms of people's overall health. It's sad how demonized it's become just because of basically the cotton industry. But I think, slowly but surely the tides are turning. But yeah, helping people understand the myths and misconceptions when it comes to hemp versus marijuana and CBD and full spectrum and all these terms that are going around. Jeff is really good at putting it in perspective for people. I get a little too technical and sciencey, so sometimes I have to take a step back, whereas Jeff's really good about making it simple for people to understand, because that's what it comes down to. Is you can flood people with information, but sometimes people just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, that's what I told her. I said, give me CBD for dummies. That's what I need.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I mean, we go over as a team with CBD Dog Health every week, new research, what's going on, what states are changing in terms of laws. There's a lot constantly moving. So it's a lot of moving parts, but hopefully we're getting to a point where we can all have some sort of cannabis in our lives.
Awesome. So do you two help cats at all?
Absolutely. Yeah. And my one employee actually, she's our resident cat person, because we don't have cats, and she was able to transition her cats from prescription urinary diet to raw food, and she's got a lot of experience there. But because of the stipulations and qualifications that we have for products in our store, most of our store is dog and cat, because I don't carry anything with flour, sugar, salts, dyes, glycerins, anything like that. So it makes it pretty inclusive for cats. It's a lot of meat. But we do have a lot of cat exclusive products, the Two Crazy Cat Ladies supplements. We have a whole supplement section, flea and tick section for cats. We have a actually pretty decent cat selection now, so we're more than happy to help cat people as well as dog people.
Yeah, there are some of the feline essentials that I think can also be used on dogs. So,
I used the urinary cat on Bruce for a year.
Awesome.
I think people, especially when it comes to the dog and cat thing, people don't realize how similar they are. That it's cat people and dog people want, their animal on the bottle, but a lot of these things are ubiquitous to both species. There's certainly some exceptions there, but when it comes to food, it's pretty similar. The rules are pretty similar for both of them. So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding with cats for sure, that they're, so much different than dogs in terms of their diet and their needs. And in some ways they are, but there's a lot of, what's that word? Common grounds there.
So I'm really excited for people to, of course, hear what you guys do. And hopefully, as you're listening, you're also going to, it's pugandhound.com. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Because, and you spell out pugandhound.com. Okay. I'm hoping that as you're listening, you're going to pugandhound.com and you are looking over the resources there and considering a consult with Krysta, because I have found that most people either start with they have a health issue or their pet has a health issue, and it kind of snowballs from there. And people really do need that individualized attention for the most part to really get going and feel confident in being able to start making these decisions for themselves. So I highly recommend that you do check that out. I did want to ask y'all one more question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, y'all are maybe what someone might call foodies.
Yeah, we are.
I call my husband a foodie. He doesn't think he is, but compared to me, he's totally a foodie. I'm a very I just want a plain steak with salt and pepper, nothing else. Give me a baked potato on a side, some fruit. I don't want anything fancy. I don't want to keep trying new things. I just want the bare minimum.
You like what you like.
So I want to know what your favorite food or meal is, each of you.
I mean, for me, he knows.
Cheese.
It's cheese. I love cheese. He got me Cheese of the Month Club for my birthday. I love cheese. My favorite food is probably a quesadilla. I love just a simple corn tortilla and some quesadilla cheese. That's like my go-to snack if I'm feeling crappy. That's what I go to. But yeah, I'd say it's cheese for sure. Probably cheese. Meat for him.
Yeah, I mean,
the meat and cheese couple.
Yeah, that's about what it is.
Any meat.
Charcuterie couple.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Prosciutto, probably. My dad came from Italy. He was, came here when he was 15. My grandfather, growing up, he used to make his own prosciutto. So we had a little, sectioned off part of our basement that we used for, wine. He made his own wine, too. I did that growing up. But he'd hang the, prosciutto in the wine cellar, salt it down, and then we'd wait months and months until it cured. And then he'd go down there, and all my friends would laugh. They're like, what is this piece of meat just hanging in your basement for? And then once they had some, I mean, it was
yeah, he introduced me to prosciutto and cantaloupe. That's
an appetizer in Italy. Prosciutto con melone.
It's pretty damn good.
I'm gonna have to look for that. I've been really into prosciutto on just a plain cheese pizza lately. So putting that on top, that's what I've really been into lately. So that's cool. But I just said we're getting ready to go to Rome. So hopefully maybe I can find that there.
Oh, they'll have it. I mean, that's when I went when I was 15, and they used to, like, from 12 o'clock till about 3, the whole country just shut down. It was lunchtime. Now I hear that's not the case anymore. One of our customers just got back, and he's like, yeah, they don't do that anymore. Everywhere's more touristy now, and it's open all the time. I'm like, that's a bummer. It was interesting because I was 15 at the time, so I'll be 45 next Wednesday, so I was 30, and Jesus, a long time ago. But we would go and, like, rent little Vespas and drive around, all the different towns. And, we ran out of gas at like 1 o'clock, and we pull up to the gas station. There's all these old Italians sitting there, and they're like, oh no, we're closed. But if you want a beer, we'll give you a beer. So we had a beer with them, and then we couldn't, we had to go. There was like one gas station that was open that we ended up finding. But then we learned, like, don't run out of gas between 12 and 3 or you're not getting any. So it was interesting.
Well, I'll have to let you know because I have been reading a lot. We're in a Facebook group, Italy travel planning, and a lot of people do say that they shut down. Like, they don't start until 10. Yeah,
they don't. Maybe in the smaller
maybe
towns. Maybe I don't know about And I'll tell you, the Trevi Fountain is not going to be where you think it is.
Okay.
I promise that, because it's like there's buildings all around it. It's not like in this open area. Like, it was interesting because we looked for it for a while, and then it's like you go down this alleyway and then you come to this opening, and then there it is. So you would think that it's like hearing about it, like, oh, it's this, big thing that's out in the middle of nowhere, out in the open, but it's not. So, but it's, I mean, I remember all that, going to the Coliseum and walking around. That was really cool. But yeah, there's a lot of awesome food, and
yeah, one day we'll get to travel and go abroad and eat all that good food, because we don't really do anything else other than go out to eat. That's our little vacations. So
yeah, it's hard when you have pets, especially pets that have special needs. Totally get that.
But fortunately, a lot of places around us that know and love Bruce, they let us bring him.
Well, he doesn't go anywhere. He sits in a stroller. Yeah. He's never going to run around. He's never going to pee anywhere. So it's like,
he's the ideal dog. You are such a looking at your dad.
He certainly is adorable.
Yeah.
He's going to be 12. 19.
I see his little.
Yeah, we're having a big birthday party for him, raising money for a charity rescue organization, giving away frozen food, which is awesome. We've done a couple freezer giveaways over the past few years.
Freezer raffles. So we raise money for rescues. Giveaways, either way. The rescues get all the money. We just, sell tickets, and then we get some brands that donate some product that we put in the freezer for the people. So it's a good way to get people, some people can't do it. They don't have the freezer space, or they do, and they can only buy smaller portions. So it, gets people interested, and it raises money for, a good cause. They help people and pets all over the place. So my niece actually introduced me to the ladies that founded it, and they're fresh feeders themselves, which it's hard to find, and some rescues will promote it. Some of them, I understand, they get what they can, and you have to do what you can for the animals, and I appreciate it. But there's also that level of, once they adopt the dog from you, of educating them, like, hey, you should look into this. That way, you're not just going to be that same cycle. Though some people give up these dogs because they have a lot of allergies or this, that, or the other, that could be easily solved with a better diet. And that sometimes that upfront cost is too much. People are like, oh, I can't afford that. But
it's amazing, speaking of allergies, what the results that we see from people who switch their dogs over to fresh and, a couple supplements. CBD, for sure, that's our go-to when people are like, what do you have for allergies? I'm like, well, I have a bunch of herbal remedies, but CBD is really going to be the best thing. And just seeing those, when people take before and after pictures for us, it never gets old. Seeing the results of people making those changes for their dogs, and not to mention how much happier it makes pet parents when they're not seeing their dog itch constantly. It takes anxiety off pet owners. So it's really a dually beneficial thing to help people with their pets, because you're helping them too. You're helping their whole household be happier because their dog's happier. So because they bring us so much joy, they deserve it. Their lives aren't long enough, and we got to do everything we can for them. You're so damn cute.
That's so true.
To give them the best quality of life for as long as they're on this earth with us, giving all that joy and unconditional love.
That is so true. I love that. I think we should end on that, unless you have anything else you want to tell people to follow you on socials or anything.
Yeah, our website, we're pretty active on Facebook and Instagram. Anything else?
No, nothing really. I mean, just remember what animal cooks their food. When you can answer that, they'll give you free food at Pug and Hound.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. I so appreciate you taking the time to do this and to keep spreading the word to pet parents about not just fresh feeding, but raising naturally healthy pets. So,
well, thank you for having us. We love to be able to spread the word and, help people connect the dots.
Yeah, reach new people is always important. We don't do a ton of advertising because it's hard. You want to make sure that you're getting the people that you want, and spending the money on the store is what we do. We brought in a lot of new products and new things since we've opened to try and have that here for people. So that's what we're most,
passionate
about is expanding our store. So getting out like this is awesome for us. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for everything you do for pets and their parents. Make sure you go to pugandhound.com and follow Krysta and Jeff on the socials as well, especially Facebook and Instagram. Thank you all again.
Yeah, Bruce has his own Instagram too.
Yes. What is it?
This is Bruce Wayne Da Pug, D-A.
Bruce Wayne Da Pug. Okay,
yep.
Go follow Bruce.
If you follow our Pug and Hound Instagram, the link to Bruce's page is on there too. So he is a stinker.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. And hopefully we'll have you back on.
Okay, we look forward to it.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure that you're following the show so you never miss an episode. And please take a moment to rate the show on your podcast app. I'd also love it if you'd share this podcast with your friends and family so that they can benefit from the information to help their pets live long, happy lives too. Don't forget to take advantage of this special discount as a listener today and get access to over 100 online videos and my online dog training, The Furry Family Coach. Just go to thefurryfamilycoach.com and use code PODCAST at checkout to get your first month for only $7. That's thefurryfamilycoach.com and use code PODCAST at checkout to get your first month for only $7. I can't wait to have you join and see you on the inside.